So I don't know if you saw Elon Musk and other leaders in tech are calling for a pause on AI development. Did you see that?
I did see this.
So I don't know anything about it. I don't know if you do that by
I mean,
chance.
I have some very limited knowledge, but we can talk about it. I did see the very brief part about this that I saw was, uh, so I guess everyone knows about ChatGPT. The background behind it, or the very brief background behind it, is GPT-3, which is it's like basically the larger model that trains up what ChatGPT is using. It's called GPT-3. Just a really large language processor. GPT-4 released, and it's even better, obviously, than GPT-3. And all of these like even bigger jumps have happened. So like the really quick example is this guy on Twitter. He shared it where he's like, GPT-4 came out. Here's what I asked it to do, and he's like, I basically asked it to generate an iPhone app being built in Swift UI, which is like what iOS apps are all built in. And I asked it to build me an app that gave me 5 random movie topics with their corresponding like descriptions. It basically was like, generate me 5 movies randomly using like a random movie database, and give me like movie recommendations. Give me like the scores and the brief description of it. It asked to build this app, and before where ChatGPT could give you like code snippets, this just straight up generated an entire app. Like without him, he had to like prompt it with a couple other things to tweak some stuff. Like he had to solve a couple bugs in it, but it generated quite literally an entire app. And then he published it on the App Store. He's like, I don't want to like do this and just kind of do this as like a demo. I want to like straight up publish it. So he like asked it to generate this whole thing, published it on the App Store. It's now live. You can literally go download it. Let me find the name of it. But
Wow.
so anyways, so this is using GPT-4. So there's been like the past 2 weeks, all Twitter's been blowing up about the different uses for GPT-4 and all this stuff. And I think out of that has been prompting all of these big tech people and the whole past like 2 months of all the AI boom asking
Oh,
everyone to
okay.
pause it. But I understand why, sort of, but at the same time, there's been so much like advancement and like people gearing up to launch companies and launch all these software products using ChatGPT as like the basis of it, that I don't know if they can stop it right now. Like if they do, they're killing like a huge like market potentially for like basically tech advancement with AI. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay. Well, yeah, the little I know, but um, so you don't really know the reason. Like, what was the scare? It was the fact that this guy built an app from ChatGPT 3.
It
What is?
wasn't just it wasn't just that app. That's just one example of
I
like
figured it wasn't just that. It was, but yeah, but you
yeah.
don't know. Like, what is the concern ultimately? What's the? Do you know what they're saying? Like, what is it?
I think they just feel like AI is progressing too quickly before there's guardrails in place to. I mean,
Okay,
there's the
that would make
doomsday.
sense to me.
Yeah, it's the doomsday scenario of like, what's that movie where everyone always quotes, where AI like takes over.
There's
I
lots
don't
of
know.
movies.
I should know this. There's like some really famous one where they're
iRobot.
like, no, it's
Um,
this is so dumb. Where
right.
they're like, oh, Terminator, maybe is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that one gets quoted a lot. Yeah.
What's the name of? There's like the name of the system where they're like, oh, this is gonna be Skynet.
Oh yeah.
Skynet.
What is that
What
from?
is that
That's
from
Terminator?
Terminator?
I think it's Terminator.
So everyone always says like, oh, it's like Skynet, and it's like kind of a gag joke. But I
Right.
think they're like sort of concerned where they're like, well, do we have stuff in place to stop this if and when like it advances really heavily? For now, it
Mhm.
seems like it is. It's all OpenAI, which is the company that built ChatGPT. So I would think they could just kill their servers, and this is kind of a problem solved. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what triggered that.
Yeah. Well, if anybody is in that is more involved in that, let us know in the comments below, as always.
Yeah.
But speaking of tech, I was um, classic on my way out tonight, as I always say. I had dinner with my brother-in-law and sister, and then my other brother and his wife. Anyway, So they were, but my brother-in-law, not that it matters. My brother-in-law Jonathan, he was saying that he said he's been using it like crazy, and it saved him a ton of time with him, what his whole everything he does in tech in general. So he was saying this is not really the same topic, but he was talking about Microsoft and how Microsoft has become like more of a in recent years they've made a lot of great moves, like the fact that they now, I guess they own ChatGPT. He was talking about how they bought Xbox, years back, obviously. But because of these moves, that he said that now as a company, they've kind of made a comeback, and they're now kind of, at least I kind of corrected him on this one, because he was saying now Microsoft is like a cool company. And I was like, well, I would argue maybe they're now considered a cool company within the tech world, but I would still argue that to the average consumer, Microsoft is not cool like Apple quite yet. But anyway, so I don't know. I was, but yeah, do you have a take on that or not?
I do have a take on that.
Go ahead. I can tell.
I wouldn't say so. I do agree with you. Microsoft is like, everyone knows Microsoft as like Office, Windows.
Yeah.
So at face value, I do agree with you. I do think like knowing some of the things that they're doing and building, there is some they're still very prestigious, and like working for them is like a very big deal still, because they've got all these like different projects that are going on. Obviously the Xbox thing, they bought Minecraft back in the day.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
that's right. Yeah.
I don't think they own OpenAI. They're a huge investor, and
Okay, that's what it is.
all of OpenAI's servers are hosted through Azure, which is Microsoft. So all of the ChatGPT like infrastructure is owned by Microsoft, or is being run through Microsoft.
Gotcha.
And then they have like not AI, AR and VR projects called HoloLens. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Dude,
yeah.
Maybe you forgot then. So this is crazy, because what I told him the night was, I was like, yeah, in college, Josh told me about this thing called HoloLens, and this is like 2015.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so I brought that up with them, and I was like, yeah, but the thing is about HoloLens is it doesn't seem like it ever came to fruition. And then he started talking about what happened there. I guess I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, HoloLens, I remember that.
I forgot that we even talked about that.
You showed me this in the library at Liberty. I remember specifically.
Nice. Heck yeah.
I was a freshman.
So when they released the product at the time, it was this huge deal, because they released this, like, it was mostly just the marketing for it, and the marketing was unbelievable. Whatever they did then was like so far ahead of anybody, and it was more of like a concept. And so they showed all these different uses for it, and engineers and like scientists and all this stuff. And there's like a really cool potential use for it. And they built it primarily, like most people think of VR as gaming. They built it primarily as like
for like everyday use, like living home situations, I guess.
It was like a home and like mostly work. They pumped pretty heavily in like the industry uses for it. And so that was their big push. And I think that's what they're still building it for, is like, if I'm an architect, I could share like a virtual architectural like blueprint. I don't know what you call it. I'm not an architect, but
you're not.
I could like remotely call you on this thing, and we could like interactively build this and like talk through and like interact with this blueprint, like architectural blueprint. So they definitely targeted like the industry use for it. And so that's why there hasn't been much news for it. I don't know if they've killed the project or if they're just silently developing it, kind of just while the VR trend just kind of fizzles right now. And they're going to eventually launch this like crazy big thing. It's kind of like OpenAI did with ChatGPT. AI was like a buzzword, and then ChatGPT launched and it like exploded because it was like the first real use for everyday people. That's what I envision HoloLens is going to do with VR and AR.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, VR is, you're right. It's just been for gaming, really, is what it's known for. And even with that, it's like, I mean, VR is just, it's never gotten to the point of like where I guess we'd want it to be. Like, I don't think anybody gets, like, VR is cool, but like, we'd still prefer to get buy a PlayStation over a freaking Oculus or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not to like its full potential, obviously. So we're just obviously still in the heyday, or not heyday, but like the early days of it all. So, yeah. I mean, and it hasn't become. It's only, but so it'll be interesting. I didn't realize Microsoft was still working on HoloLens, but it will be interesting to see how that affects the market when it does come release. And I mean, I'll be interested to see how many people actually like find it useful and see if it like solidifies its place as like an everyday home living tool. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe they're still developing it. I don't know 100%. But like here's a quick example. VR right now is like really early, still in its infancy. But even then, so 2 years ago I was working for Accenture. Shout out Accenture. And this was right in the middle of COVID, right before and like during COVID is when I was there. And during all of that, when everybody went fully remote, we had a big, we don't have a partnership, but we worked with Meta, Facebook at the time, now Meta, on a bunch of different things. We were doing some work for them. So we partnered with them to roll out a pilot program for Oculus. That's obviously Meta's big thing. And they're sort of the leader right now in VR. It's very basic, but we partnered with them to get a bunch of Oculus headsets, and we distributed it to a bunch of people in a pilot program for new employee like onboarding. So typically that's done in person. You go somewhere, Texas, California, whatever. Accenture basically got all these Oculus headsets, shipped them to people who just joined the company, and they onboarded them in VR. It was like kind of corny.
No way.
I didn't see what it actually was like, but there was an article about it. They onboarded like 60 something thousand people in VR, and VR is like in a trash state right now. It looks terrible. There's really not a ton of use for it, but they were like trying to get ahead of the trend before it like caught wind to see like, is there something here? Is there not? I don't know if they're going to keep doing that. I doubt it, just because I don't think that VR is in a place to continue that where people actually want to do it. It was more like they kind of had to, but that kind of thing exists. So like if HoloLens takes that and takes it like way further than that to where it's like actually useful, then this could be really cool. So I don't know. Did you ever see the teaser that I think it was, is it the new Oculus headset that came out? There's like a new Oculus that came. Let me fact check this before we talk about it. Yeah. So the Meta Quest Pro, it's like the new Oculus pretty much. This got released, I don't know, last year sometime. And this is where I genuinely see a use for it. So there's obviously the difference between VR and AR. AR is like where the actual use, I think, is, which is augmented reality, which is like you're seeing virtual things laid on top of your existing environment. So like I'm not completely in a virtual world. I see the world like I normally do, and there's additional data kind of overlaid on top of that world, or our world.
Okay.
So anyways, the new Quest Pro, they demoed this as like, you could take these glasses, they're clear, but they have ability to see like additional data and like overlays on it. And they're like, imagine you can take your laptop, you put these goggles on or this headset on, and when you look at your screen, you see your laptop screen, and then you see 3 like 30-inch monitors around it.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So you're not in a virtual world, but you're seeing your laptop, but you're also seeing these other like floating monitors that don't actually exist.
It's like an
so
IMAX.
They're like, yeah, it's basically like, why do you need actual monitors for either your work from home setup or in the office or in a coffee shop? Coffee shop, you look like an idiot using that, but
we should do a whole sketch on that.
Yeah, dude's got his he's sitting
Yeah.
there working. He's like looking into nothing, right?
It's like touching people, trying to grab
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, right. So, but anyways, so that's like an actual use where, hey, you, instead of having people buy like, $1,500 worth of equipment, they could buy this headset and they could work on their laptop with all these other external monitors
Okay.
that are just basically virtual in a sense.
That's
So
dope.
that's like the actual use for it. So if they do that well and HoloLens figures out what they want to do, like they could make using this for like real world purposes actually something that's like attractive to users.
Okay. Yeah. That's all. Okay. That sounds pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just the video even from 2015, I still think was super cool, and that was so long ago too. But, yeah. So I don't have a whole lot more to add to that because I just don't know enough. But it is pretty crazy to think that this was 8 years ago. Me and you were sitting at a table talking about this. Little did we know, fast forward 8 years down the road, we'd have a podcast talking about the same thing.
Right? Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. What? Yeah. Funny to
Yeah,
think about.
8 years ago. Wow. Makes me want to freaking jump off a bridge.
You can't listen to this podcast and hear us talk about age without us finishing it by saying blow our brains out or jump off a bridge.
Some type of dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, getting older sucks. Am I right?
Well, just like we said before, who wants to have a family and grow up?
Yeah.
Not me.
Young forever young, baby. Yeah, I'll be a child forever. I'll be like freaking Peter Pan or the Lost Boys, you know?
Peter Payone.
Freaking Micah. Who's
Oh,
Peter
man.
Payone? That's such a good name.
Oh, were you hanging out with Peter Payone?
You shouldn't be hanging out with that guy, Peter Payone.
He's a bad guy, from what I hear. I'm actually
Because he thinks I'm a bad guy.
because he
So
thinks
he's a bad guy.
That joke I will continually use to both of them, and neither of them care anymore. I still care. So every time
I do too.
Every time I hang out with Micah, I go, "Yeah, I'm hanging out with your boy Louis Payone next weekend." And then I hang out with Louis, and I go, "Yeah, I was hanging out with your friend Micah in California the other day." Just keep stirring up division, even though no one cares anymore. You know,
we should get it to the point where like we hype it up so much, like start marketing the drama to the point where they actually have like a boxing match, and we actually could maybe make a profit from this, turn a profit.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, just like this podcast, we're just after fame and money. So
that's right, money and fame, just like Need to Breathe said, money and fame.
Bring a man shame.
Is that the next line? Good, I couldn't think
so.
of it. You're
money
right. I mean,
and
I think
fame. Bring a man shame, ain't no doubt about it.
Oh, that's right. Dang, good callback. I couldn't think of the melody or
right?
anything, but yeah, I think you're definitely right.
I think it is. Yeah.
Money and fame bring a man shame. That's right.
That's a shame.
Okay, so speaking of people we used to know, today is the one and only Mr. Bard Perntis's birthday.
Bard Perntis.
Who you talking to? Bard Perntis over there? So happy birthday, Bard, Mr. Brad. Yep. Yeah, he's a loyal follower of the TCP.
Yep.
And so we're excited to just celebrate a little bit with him today. 26, I believe. So getting up there. Too old for Leo.
That's right. You can no longer date Leo.
Sorry, bud. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we have our very core listeners. We've got Brad. We talk about this every time.
We talk about this every time.
Brad, Ryan, Lauren, Hunter. It's like, but happy birthday, Brad. He called me last week and he's like, dude, was listening to the podcast. Love the Black Mirror segment. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, though, shout out Lewis. I have it pulled up. He received an honorable mention from the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program. It's a really nice and simple name. The NSF-GRFP. But he had a proposal on like 3D printing bioactive scaffolds functionalized with neuronal binding motifs. I don't know. Biotech stuff. Go listen to episode 4. He was on The Scientist. But shout out Lewis on the award. That is very impressive, actually.
And the truth is, he wouldn't have received that award if he had not come on the TCP before.
That's right. Yeah.
So really, it was just a joint effort on all three of our hands. You know, me, Lewis, and Josh. We all kind of teamed up to help him get this award. So you're welcome, Lewis. But also congratulations. And also congratulations to us. So give me that
congratulations to the TCP. Yeah.
That's right.
The NRSF, GFRH, CICP, they watched The Town Crier, and that's how they found him. So.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we could call this back. I have screenshots of the app that ChatGPT created pulled up on the App Store. Open your App Store. 5 movies. The number 5 movies.
Swipe to see today's movies.
Yeah.
That goes.
So it just randomly generates 5 movies.
Oh, that's how it works. Oh, okay. So
so it just picks 5 random movies.
I love that.
and it just gives you, I assume it gives you like where you can stream it, the description.
So it says, so let's say I want to watch Bullet Train. I actually already saw that the other day, but so I would try tapping the poster, and it says, okay, Bullet Train, and then it gives me the description of what it is, the synopsis, available on Netflix. So now it can take you straight to it, I guess. I don't know. You can't really see it.
It probably just links to wherever it's streaming, and you could just link probably directly to Netflix or Apple TV or whatever.
So what's the point of this app? Just to find movies when you need a movie to watch? I like
So-
that because I'm...
Well, so it's less like a problem to solve. It's more the guy literally asked ChatGPT to make the app, and it made the whole app for.
Dude, I'm sorry. I was not following.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what this is. Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's why it's so impressive. He built
Wow.
this using ChatGPT in 15 minutes.
That's
He
crazy.
quite literally like asked it to generate this app, asked it to connect to like a movie database, and it did that for him automatically. Like it did the entire thing. So
That's wild.
yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think now. Like my whole premise with ChatGPT has kind of always been, it might like it'll always be just kind of a second hand to like the person who's really doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But this is kind of showing that, like, I think this is super rare, but it probably is. It's possible, I guess, that could actually create a piece of work like an app that would actually be something people would want to use.
Right.
Like I would expect if
Exactly.
it was made by ChatGPT, it's probably something nobody cares about and has no
Yeah.
use. But that's actually useful, and I could see that actually taking off. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how
So-
much customization he put in himself to making it.
He basically just asked it. I think he asked for. There's a whole Twitter thread on it. I can send it to you, and we don't need to put that in there. But he basically asked it to initially build the concept. The UI looked different at first, and he said, "I don't like this. Could you make the movie posters a bit bigger and a little more simple?" And so it redid it to do it like where it just shows. There's no buttons. It just shows you the poster, and when you click on it, it takes you to like the details and everything. So he refined it by just prompt writing basically some additional like tweaks for it to make, and it did it.
Wow.
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's it's groundbreaking.
yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I can already think about times where that app would come into play in my life. Because when I think of it all the time. I'm like, I want to watch a movie tonight, but I have no idea what I want to watch. Just give me something
Right.
that is maybe relevant and good. I don't know. Like that's all I really like. I don't know. I'm usually more. I myself, I have to think about what movies I want to watch pretty in depth because I don't like to waste time with a bad movie. But this is something that I think a lot of people would love.
Yeah,
You always
exactly.
have those times where you have people over and it's like, oh, let's all watch a movie, but no one can agree on one, and it gets awkward, and it's like, people are like, oh, well, if you want to watch that, we can watch that, and everything's just like, there's all this back and forth. I've seen it happen many times.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then people end up sitting in a movie that maybe they didn't all agree on, and so they're not all
Yeah.
excited. Where this, just be like, all right, here's 5 movies that are good. You pick one of these, and then come to an agreement pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I can
That's-
see that playing a role.
That's what Netflix originally intended to do, where they, how when you pull up Netflix, it like immediately shows you stuff.
Right.
Now it's just so bloated that you just
Yeah.
scroll their recommendations longer than you would normally anyway. So
it's way too much.
yeah. And sometimes it's really good where they're like, hey, here's what's recommended to you. And you're like, perfect. I wanted to watch a comedy. This is great. This is like something that fits my demographic. Other times I'm like, I don't care about the number one TV show in the US today. I don't really,
Right.
that doesn't interest me, but
Oh yeah. So, I don't know if I'll keep this in, but I'm gonna share this anyway because I thought it was pretty cool. So I had a little movie idea come to me last night for a screenplay, and I did want to share this because I don't know, this might go somewhere with our conversation anyway. But so my idea, I wrote it down. Let me see. So there's I don't know why this came to me last night. It had something to do with something we were doing. I don't know. Anyway, oh yeah. So speaking of tech, this might be a full all tech episode. I don't know.
Could
So
be.
we have our chat for profile pack. We have our chat bots set up now on Instagram and Facebook, and so you can go in there and message like profile videos, and it'll take you through a whole sequence to get a consultation scheduled. It's pretty cool. Anyway, we'd worked on all the copy for that for the last 6 months, whatever it's been. And anyway, so we got those rolling. So I had this idea come to me last night to have a movie where it takes place in the classic utopian society. One of those. So it'd be like, I guess, one of those futuristic movies. So here's what I wrote. A utopian society where phone messaging has prompts for conversation. People have the choice to either use their pre-planned conversations or choose free will. So
Wait,
now,
what?
so yeah, I know, right? It's pretty crazy. So like if you go into like a chat bot on Instagram with a company, you'll oftentimes see like 4 like prompts questions you can ask without typing in. Like they're just assuming you might ask these questions. Like what's the range of cost? And if like I tap that, I'll get the answer. So what I'm saying is, imagine like I'm talking to you, or maybe I'm talking to some girl, just texting. Basically, in this day and age, in this movie, basically, their technology is developed to the point of, or humans have developed to the point where they can basically, you have 2 paths in your life that you can kind of go between, bounce back and forth between if you want, or just take one fully. So you have your pre-planned life, and then you have your free will life. And so you, throughout your lifetime, you can actually jump back and forth between these and see where you end up, basically. So on their phones, how everybody does everything off their phones, basically, like we do now. But that's where this kind of takes place, is in the virtual space, the digital space. So basically you would, if I'm talking to a girl, it might come up and say, maybe she says something like, hey, we should maybe hang out Saturday night. And then I can either just respond how I want, or go with a prompt that might say, and the prompt this time is saying, yes, 7 o'clock, your Saturday night dinner. And so then you're going to go do that because this pre-planned conversation is telling you, or this pre-planned like timeline has told you, do this, and you will get to the point where, anyway, that I haven't. This is what I mean. I just have the premise, so I haven't really delved into all of this stuff yet. I just thought it sounded kind of like a cool concept.
I mean, it is a cool concept. So, not to, I mean, I'll just
like
say
Black Mirror. You're gonna do devil's advocate.
Exactly.
Well, I haven't even heard the story yet. There's nothing to advocate.
So I'll advocate for a parallel to that. Have you seen the Black Mirror episode about dating? Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, kind of too.
So it's it's different. It's very different than that. I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen that episode in a while. Maybe I'll watch it tonight or something. But the premise of that episode was you basically have, well, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it was basically like you have a perfect match, and there's an app that's created that knows your personality and all these different things, knows what you're looking for. It creates you this perfect match, and you match with them, and you date, and you see if it works, and if it doesn't, you had a way to like leave or continue. I forget what the nuance was, but the whole premise was that they were in a simulation, and they were running people against like every possible match that fit the criteria to see like who you were actually a perfect match with. So it's sort of that concept. It's different, but that's a fascinating thing. So you're saying like AI would be generating some conversation prompts, or you could just kind of take over and do it yourself?
So I think I think it actually goes deeper than that. I'm not sure. Okay. It could be that, what you just said. It could be that, but I think I'd want to take it a little deeper. So basically, like, technology is developed throughout the entire world with all worldwide government, or maybe it just takes place in one nation. I don't know. But basically, they've when you're first born, they like your government has already created the plan for your life, and so if you just follow the steps that technology gives you and these prompts, and you follow that timeline, you'll kind of end up where the government wants you to end up.
Okay.
And so it could be AI. I don't think it's probably not going to be AI. It'd probably be something more curated than that. And then you can do that and you can live your life in that way. And actually, I'd probably say most people want to live their life that way because there's no risk there. They kind of know what's coming. So that's probably what the majority of people choose. But then you do have you can go with free will if you'd like to, but most people don't opt into that because they're scared of that idea. So
fascinating.
My story probably takes place around one character who decides to go more free will, but because he jumps back and forth between both timelines, that's where I'll mess around with like how the plot plays out and everything, and twists and everything. So kind of Christopher Nolan, kind of Black Mirror. So,
well, I mean it's pretty much the concept of. I mean, this reminds me of something. I just cannot put a finger on it, but it's basically. If you give people the option of living like a comfortable, normal life, that's basically what this would be. It's like, hey, use our conversation prompts. Your life's likely going to be very like normal. Nothing bad's going to happen. Nothing's crazy is going to happen. And you can just kind of like live into this
coast.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a utopian kind of generic life, or you can take the risk of doing it yourself, and you can either go like, probably really poorly or really well, or you just happen to end up in the same place, and it's just you're just the one calling the shots, kind of thing. And that's a fascinating idea. I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It like reminds me of something, but I don't know what, because it probably hasn't been done.
It probably reminds you of multiple things. You just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the timeline jumping or whatever that makes you think of Tenet or something.
Right. Yeah. And like the utopian stuff obviously kind of fulfills most of the utopian films, Hunger Games, whatever else you want to call it.
Did you ever see that one about was it the Book Thief? No, not the Book Thief, but it was the one. It's in black and white for the majority of the movie, but it's a utopian society where you're not allowed to like, I don't think books are legal or something. But it's not like one of those classics. This was like a newer movie that came out like in 2014. But anyway, I remember seeing that. Maybe it's called The Gift or something. I forget. Anyway, that was a good movie. I just cannot remember the name of it. Yeah, disregard. But so anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna probably flesh that out and start writing.
Yeah,
so.
I like that.
Well, I'm glad you like it, because you're the first person I've told, so that's a good response. But yeah, when I came to you last night, I don't know. I was like, dang, I think this might be a good one.
Yeah,
I think God just gave me this on a silver platter.
That's right. Or maybe we're living in that, and you picked the risk route. Oh, and this is the risk paying off.
Oh shoot! Dang, the movie's actually about me making a movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what this kind of reminds me of now that I think about it, and by reminds me of, not at all. Did you ever see the movie About Time? Literally called About Time, with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. Actually, it's a good one.
So
Mila Kunis, right?
Yes, I've been seeing stuff. I get random TikToks that target this all about movies, which is great because that's exactly the content I want to get. But I saw this the other day, and it was like a clip. It was one of those accounts that just posts like really like good clips of movies. And the whole premise of that is that time is like your currency. And so like the ultra wealthy have like hundreds, thousands, millions of years worth of time, and they just continue to live that long, and they can basically pay for things in time. That's like their currency. Right. And so like the poverty line and under, they are all like about to die pretty much, and they're like working to basically stay alive. It doesn't really have anything to do with what you said. It just kind of reminded me of like that similar. Again, it's probably just because it's a utopian type concept, but it's kind of what I thought of.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. There hasn't really been a movie like that in a long time, and that was from 2016 or something, or a while ago.
I think it was even earlier than that, but yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I haven't seen that in forever. That is a pretty good movie from what I remember.
I don't know what I did to do this, but my TikTok feed has prompted like a bunch of really good older movies. Did you ever see Age of Adeline?
Dude, I actually just started watching that like the other day.
Yeah.
I hadn't finished it.
like that again, it's like a movie concept that's really unique. That popped up on like a TikTok feed of like an account just highlighting one of the big like popular scenes from it. And then there was one about like there was the one about time. And then there was one about Tenet. I think I sent that to you. The opening scene of Tenet where they like are in that theater.
I don't know if I watched it. What was it
Yeah.
about?
It's literally just the opening scene of Tenet. There wasn't any commentary or anything. It was just showing the scene, and it was like, oh shoot, I remember how hyped this opening was. But yeah, those accounts do such a good job with that because I like see it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was like a super good movie. I should watch that again.
Yeah, you should watch Tenet again. Is what you should do.
You're absolutely right. I was thinking about this.
Have you only seen that once?
No, like 3 times. I saw it like 3 times. I saw it in rapid succession when it came out.
Nice. Same.
But I was talking about this. We have 2 things to cover here. Christopher Nolan, obviously. I was talking to somebody about Inception the other day, and they were asking me questions. They're like, well, what do you think about this? And I was like, talking about it. And then I realized, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm probably approaching or have not, if not have exceeded my yearly Inception schedule. So I probably have to watch Inception again for the first time in probably a little over a year, which I'm very down for. But yeah. And then the second thing out of that was that weird instrument thing I sent you for Interstellar.
Yeah, the Crystal Banshee or something.
Wild.
Yeah, that was never seen that before.
Yeah.
Spell check didn't even recognize it.
Yeah, wonderful TikTok algorithm dropped that to me, and I was like, well, this is quite exactly what I'm looking to see.
We got to find these people like him. We need to bring them on the pod. Who are these like Nolan fanatics out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Hans Zimmer fanatics, whatever.
Yeah, there's a society of them somewhere.
Society, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this should be really the representation of that society. The TCP is like the pinnacle of all of that. So
it could be. Hey, we could find. You know what there probably is? There's probably a subreddit for this.
Oh, facts. There definitely is. Yeah, there definitely is. We should definitely find that and take over.
Because I mean, dude, you know how easy it would be? You get some random dude on Reddit that like is. I love that. That was so good. I don't know. Did you hear that from the last episode, the very beginning?
Oh yeah, I edited it. It's out now.
Okay. Oh, nice. I'll watch it when we're done.
It's actually YouTube is uploading right now. Actually finished.
Heck yeah.
It's already up.
That one was even more like.
Oh really?
But,
nice.
Okay, so this is great. I'll share this actually. This is worth sharing. So, reddit.com/r/Christopher Nolan. So, all about Christopher Nolan, and so subreddits can customize their stuff a little bit. So this is the number of people subscribed to the subreddit. Protagonists. Obviously based off Tenet. And then this, I actually don't even get this reference.
Wait, see
this is
Pantages?
This is who's currently online out of the people who subscribe to this. Is this a Tenet reference?
I don't think so. What is that? I'm looking it up. I don't know what that is.
I'll do it.
It's the theater that they go to. Maybe?
Oh, interesting. Oh, the Prestige.
Yeah, it's not Pantages.
Yeah, it is.
The Prestige? Oh.
Well, this just says. I'll search it.
Oh, it was in that. I thought it was Tenet. Oh, okay.
The historic Tower Theater in Los Angeles was used as the location for the Pantages Theater in London.
Okay.
Interesting. So anyways, so they customize it based on the topic of the subreddit. So anyways, you know what we could easily do is we could probably find somebody who's like an absolute ringer and we could bring them on the podcast if they had like interesting enough topics to cover. Let me just sort it by the year. Just see. Oppenheimer, of course. Behind the Scenes of the Dark Knight. Probably Interstellar. But like you could, whoa. So like Inception Blueprint, heck yeah.
So, speaking of house, not
We
that
need
our
to go
audience
live.
will-
We need to go live.
It is.
Oh, frick.
I
forgot
already
you-
told you that.
Okay, okay. Speaking
I
of,
just-
so do it again. Do it again.
So, speaking of that, so this occurs a lot, I guess, when you go to someone's house. Let's say let's say you're visiting a friend, a married friend, and you're just in town for dinner that night or whatever. Maybe you're staying the night too. You're passing through the area. I don't know. And they say to you, if you're just hanging out in the living room, maybe they're getting dinner ready. They say, "Hey, what kind of music do you like?" And then you tell them what kind of music you like. Oh, I like bands like the 1975 and Nightly and whatever. And then they're like, "Oh, okay." Or let's say you name one artist, just one artist. This happened to me before. You name one artist, and then they turn that artist on like the stereo system, and for the entirety of the rest of your time there with them, they play that artist, and that's it. Because they what I was saying is how awkward that is, because then the rest of your time there, you just hear the music that you listen to on your own playing with, and they don't even really listen to this music, and it's just playing
They have
the
no
entire
idea.
time. And it's just like, okay, like, you don't need to pander me this much. Like, yeah, it's over the top. So I like had this happen when I was like 17, and I was visiting some people actually in Colorado, Fort Collins. And,
Let's go.
and yeah, they were like, "What kind of music do you like?" I was like, I like pop punk, like Boys Like Girls or whatever. And so they turn on like Boys Like Girls for like the entire time. I'm like, what the frick? Like, this is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's just, but it's so weird. It's like, it's such a weird. I don't know. I think it's kind of odd to be like, all right, we're gonna play your music that you like this entire time
Yeah.
to make you happy. It's just,
You know what that reminds me of? This is a question for you, actually. If you're going to see a show, so use Fly By Midnight. You're going to see Fly By Midnight on a Monday. Are you listening to their music pre and leading up to the show? Like, let's use day of. Show's at 7 p.m. And you're like, I got a crew of people. We're hanging out. Are you listening to their music 3 hours before you go to the show? Or should you have already been listening to this to where day of the show you're not listening to that band?
that is a great question. So, I've debated this with myself throughout the years of going to concerts since I was like, I don't know, 12. And yeah, that's a good question, because yeah, when I'm driving to shows, I'm like, okay, do I listen to the artist or do I listen to other artists intentionally so that I'm more like, there's two schools of thought here. It's like you could benefit from not listening to it and then it feels more new when you show up for the live show, or you listen to it so that when you show up for the live show, you know everything verbatim and you're ready to go and you can sing along perfectly. So there's like two schools of thought there. Mine tends to be, do not listen to the music before you show up. However, I don't really go with either one religiously. I'm not married to either one. Like, sometimes I will listen to the music before I showed up. Like the 1975, I did listen to their music before I showed up because the album was still so new. And so I knew I probably had to do a little bit of work to really know the songs well. However, if I really, really know, let's say it's not a brand new album, or like maybe the album's been out like 8 months now, but they're on tour, then I will probably not listen to the artist at all on the way to the show so that it's just fresh when I show up.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I take that exact same school of thought where like a week leading up to the show, 2 weeks leading up to the show, like their album's on repeat, where I'm like, of course I'm listening to them. I'm getting like amped up for this.
Well, you're saying like weeks before or like the day of?
So my initial argument was day of.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like a week before the show, I'm listening to them religiously so that I feel like I know the songs. I feel like I appreciate their whole album, so that when I hit the day of the show, I'm not trying to like, it's almost like taking a test in college where you're like cramming the day of. I'm not cramming music so that I know all their stuff when I show up. Mm-hmm. But then when you show up and they play songs, you're like, oh yeah, that's like a really specific song on the album that most people don't know, but I've been listening to them for the past like week or two. I know what that song is. You know,
True.
that's how I always do it. So we're kind of on the same page.
Yeah, I figured. But also I'll say this because this is a personal experience I had with this last summer when I went to see the band Camino, and what I had been doing up until that point. And this was in June of 2022. So if I do the math. So if the album that they were touring for came out in 2021 of, I believe, it was September of 2021, I think it was. And so throughout those months leading up to that show, like 9 months, whatever that was, 10 months, I was like, I listened to that album so much, but not only that, but I was watching the live performances. So like bands will oftentimes go to like a cool venue where there's no audience, but they'll do like some live, they'll just do a lot of their songs live right there and make some cool videos for it. And it's like the 1975 did that recently for their album, really good live videos. The band Camino did as well. So I would watch these live performances of these videos all the freaking time, because I was like, man, it sounds better here than it does on the album, I thought, in certain ways. Anyway, the problem I kind of I shot myself in the back kind of in a way here, because I then showed up for the show, and literally the performance, usually like the performance is a little different than the album recordings. Obviously they're putting on a show, so there's a lot more that goes into it, and they might change some things up here or there. They might play like this bridge, go a little longer with it, build a little more here, whatever. Live performances tend to be a little different than the album. Obviously you'd want them to, I would think too, but what happened with me was that when they went to play their live performance, not only had I listened to the album and the recordings there, but I also watched the live video so much, so nothing was new to me whatsoever. So they did exactly verbatim the live performances I had already been watching over and over and over again. Yeah. So when they came on stage, I was just like, I walked away and I'm like, it was a good show, and like they played perfectly, but it wasn't that memorable for me, because it was just like I just watched what I've already been watching for months on end. And so I just walked away, just like, that people asked, like, what do you think? I was like, it was a great show. They did a great job. It wasn't that great to me personally. Yeah. I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably could have if I hadn't freaking burnt myself out on these freaking songs and known everything just like the back of my hand. I wished I would have not done that. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't purposely do this, but I've learned to not do that until like I see the show, and then I watch the lives to like revisit what the show was. So, I mean, an obvious example here, Colorado, Red Rocks is like one of the most famous venues ever. And so when people play here, it's like a crazy good show. And so I'll go and watch like old previous performances at Red Rocks after I go. Cause you know, like whenever you go see somebody live, you get like real fired up and you just want to hear their songs again. So I'll like watch replays of previous live performances like after the fact.
Yeah.
But that's a great point where it's like you do it beforehand, you're like kind of ruining your experience almost, or like you're taking away from your experience. You're not ruining it, but you're like taking away from your experience if you already hear like, oh wow, they do this live, like that's unique. Think about this, like Odessa. You and I like love Odessa. It's like their live performances is like quite literally like the best part of who they are.
Oh, their performances are like the majority. Yeah, you're right. The majority of what they're known for is their performances. Yeah.
And so like imagine you don't know that. You watch a live of like their like Moment Apart tour, which like arguably is their best tour ever. Like imagine you've never seen them live, you just know their album, you watch a live performance and you see the drum line show up, which you typically don't know happens. Right. And like all of a sudden you've now like ruined that for like the live show almost, where you're for like, sure. No way, this is crazy. And obviously live it's going to sound better still.
Well, but, I actually don't think that's necessarily always true, but
no, that's okay. That's fair. That's fair.
I would say for bands that are newer and have a smaller budget, they're not able to have the best equipment that will like let the audience hear every detail of their music. So in that case, the recording's going to sound better. But in the bands that have larger budgets, they're able to use better production, and so their live performances will just sound as good as the album, if not better. So
that's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, with Odessa, like, you might spoil. This is like one of their biggest. They have their drum line, but then they not all their shows, but maybe their festival shows outdoor. They'll do the drones that'll go into their the shape of their logo. That's wild. Yeah. And not that I don't think you could really spoil that for yourself. I think that'll be just as cool, way cooler in person, obviously.
Yeah. That can never translate. That's one of the agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. They're known for their performances. Like that is like their
Yeah.
bread and butter is their performances, and they know that.
Yeah.
So
Because I remember when I saw them in 2018, I like knew who they were, and I had been listening. The album had just come out, and like I was listening to them when I was working, and it was like it's like a great like focus music, but I didn't know like a ton about them. And we showed up to their live show at Red Rocks, and all of a sudden it's just like this performance that's like 2, 3, 4x what you get from the albums. And I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're
Yeah.
very unique in that sense.
right. So and I will say this, I saw Lainey that same summer. I saw the band Camino, and that was different because I actually hadn't spoiled that one for myself. I had watched the
Yep.
music videos over and over, but they didn't really do any live video performances, so I didn't spoil the concert, fortunately. But anyway, I did take a ton of video footage, and then after the concert, I'd watch that footage all the time, even though
Yeah.
it's from my iPhone in the audience. It still is. I love it because I'm actually there and get to experience that moment in a way again. So it is kind of that I definitely enjoy. But
Yeah. Laney Live is
you haven't done it,
super
though,
good.
right?
Yeah. We saw the same bands that same summer.
I always get it mixed up. If it was just the band Camino or it was both.
It was Band Camino, Laney, and Valley all in the same year.
I didn't see Valley, but
Okay, then it was not Valley.
so call out my name.
Oh, there you go. The Weeknd. We can talk about that. That
Oh.
song's about to drop. That's going to drop soon, I would think. Calvin
I don't know.
Harris.
Oh,
Calvin Harris,
speaking
The
of Calvin
Weeknd,
Harris,
and
I think that song with Ellie Goulding drops tonight. The one
that's
in
what
the
I was.
church?
That's what I'm talking about.
Is
Yeah.
it the same one? He's in that too.
No. Oh, that's why I was thinking about it. People kept commenting that The Weeknd should be on it because it sounded like he fit
Oh,
the vibe of the song. That's
That's
exactly what I was
interesting.
referring to, though. That comes out tonight.
it might not be tonight. Maybe tomorrow. I forget. I saw I did see something for it like yesterday. It was about to drop. But speaking of a weekend, did you hear? He is now the most. He's officially like the most popular artist on the face of the earth right now.
No way. Based on what metric?
That's what I'm trying to find. The Weeknd has been declared the most popular musician on the planet, according to statistics collected by Guinness World Records. Apparently, The Weeknd blew all the competition away. Guinness said that no one else even comes close. He has 111.4 million monthly listeners as of March 20th. So he is now
That's pretty wild.
the most popular musician in the world.
Let's think about that. 111 million monthly listeners.
Yeah,
That's literally a third of the U.S.
the next closest artist is Miley Cyrus at 82.4, dude. That's
Wait, what?
wild. How big of a difference that is.
I also would never have guessed Miley Cyrus would have been there.
I wouldn't have either. It's because of her song "Flowers."
I hate that song.
I
with passion, actually.
I don't even listen to it. I don't even know if I know it. I just know like the chorus. But then okay, so quickly falling in line behind Miley are Shakira. How is Shakira number 3? If
This has got to be historic stats. There's no
Okay,
way
yeah,
that's
right.
current.
but if they're historic, then I don't think The Weeknd would be number 1.
No, it's probably he's probably that currently, and they're probably
Okay,
drawing.
currently. So this is what it is.
Yeah, 'cause-
but then this would be current then as well, which
No.
Shakira I guess is just big now.
No shots. Shakira's doing that stuff now. There's got to be historic stats. Ed
Wow.
Sheeran, there's no way he's that popular right now. He hasn't done anything in years.
Yeah, well, so I don't really know what this is going on.
I also
but,
can't stand Ed Sheeran either.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like his music at all.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I don't know why. I just have never been a fan.
Oh, I love his music. Since I
Yeah,
was
it's
in high
because he's
school.
ginger, and I'm like racist against that. So.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, my brother's a ginger too. I'm racist towards him.
Oh yeah, true. How is he?
Yeah.
How is he a ginger? Neither your parents are.
My mom, red hair. She just it's probably she's just
Oh really?
darkens it probably. I think that's what it is.
Mm.
She's always done that, I think. Or maybe it's just permanent. I have no idea. She had more red hair when she was younger. But by the way, I should let everybody know. I'm just trying to be as much like Morgan Wallen as possible. So because of that, we've intentionally delayed. We've now created a week where there's going to be a double episode, like the double album. We're doing a double episode week.
Facts.
So
That's
not
right.
only did you get a episode out today, but you're also going to get one out tomorrow, maybe.
That's right. Maybe, perhaps.
Might be a little busy with the bachelor party. I mean, not might be a little busy with the baby shower for the boys.
The baby shower for the boys.
You ever been to a BBB?
We don't care about
triple
this
B?
baby at all. This is just for the boys.
Baby shower for the boys, or baby shower with the boys. Has anybody, do any of our listeners, have you guys been to a baby shower before? And if you been to one as a dude?
And if you have, let us know what you should and should not do. We will do the should not.
Or yeah, exactly. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
I didn't really. This is my first baby shower, so
Same.
you know, maybe my last as well. I don't know.
We're gonna leave Monday and be like, well, that sucked. We're never doing that again.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think. Like, as a single dude, do I bring a gift? Like, do I bring diapers? That's what my mom said.
Trying to think that too. I'm like, do I just Amazon Prime them something off their registry? Probably.
Did they have a registry?
I think so.
Aren't they doing like an official baby shower later though? I forget.
I don't know. That'll be the boring one that we don't go to.
Yeah, then I don't know if they are. Then I don't know where I heard that. But
I got a baby shower thing from Becca. Hang on.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode number 11 of the TCP. And shout out to all our new followers. We didn't even cover this today, but our Leo meme, for some reason, Instagram decided to give us a little more traction on that one unexpectedly. And so shout out to all our new followers of the Town Crier podcast. We appreciate the support and the views and the likes and everything there with that Leo reel. So anyway, this is welcome to our podcast. We're going to be putting out more reels throughout the week, and we hope that you enjoy the show. We put these out pretty much every week on Fridays, but you know, you never know. So
it's give or take. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We are happy to bring you back the purple lighting.
That's right.
It's not because I wanted to. It's because I want to do it for the audience. The purple lighting is back, so the Instagram reels will look very aesthetic again.
That's right. Thank goodness.
But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll keep this rolling. Episode 11. Tune back in next week. And hey, if you're an avid listener, you'll get a shout out like our avid listeners do every week. So,
and if you would like to advertise through the Town Crier podcast, please inquire through our DMs, and we will do. We are currently opening up ad reads for businesses, and we'll meet with you and go from there. So
yeah, if you have a crowdfunded startup that might be a scam, we'd love to advertise it. So
that's what we're here for. We're here to advertise everything and anything and everything. Like, it doesn't have to be like the typical wholesome, or you know, it doesn't have to abide by all the laws that exist in this country. If you have an idea that's, you know, little outside of a little bit the gray area, we're the place for you. We are the place to advertise for black market, whatever, anything.
Yeah.
So
like we always say, we're all about money and fame for us and you.
That's
so
right.
If you have something that could benefit both you and us.
That's right. Positivity, money, and fame is all we care about.
Anyways. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We will catch you guys next week on the TCP, episode 12. Take it easy.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, so then I was saying, I could sell it to you, but you'd have to throw in an extra $1 million.